And here we are talking about the alignment index for visionaries or AIV. This used to be known as MOA, which humorously and modestly stood for Mother of All Assessments. Now it's called AIV, Alignment Index for Visionaries. We're going to talk about why that change was made. And I am here with Joanne Giordano. My name is Ben Wolf. I'm the founder, CEO, and visionary of Wolf's Edge Integrators. And I'm here with my esteemed integrator of integrators, Joanne Giordano. Hi,
Oh,
Joanne.
hey Ben, how you doing today?
Doing good, doing good. And, Joanne and I really
Awesome.
wanted to get together and talk about the alignment index for visionaries, the AIV, and like what it's for, what does it tell a visionary, how will it help them, and a few other related topics. And
Mhm.
so I guess the first thing I wanted to ask you, Joanne, because
Yeah.
again, you're the integrator of integrators. So, like, what is the core problem or question that the AIV or Alignment Index for Visionaries is meant to answer?
So it's meant to answer, I think, two main things in my opinion. One is will tell a visionary what type of integrator they have, and it will also tell them what kind they need based on, the goals of their business, where their business is, and also where they're trying to go. And so I think, an integrator is not an integrator. That's a kind of common misconception. And it's one of the things that we've learned through all the data we've collected over the years in terms of, you know, uh, the complexity of the problems that a company is trying to solve. And saying an integrator is like saying a company's like a company, right? So it's somebody who's just starting out in their garage to a corporation, even, right? And so we were really able through our data to be able to see that they were not all equal in experience, especially on the complexity side of things. And so this assessment lets you find out, hey, for everything that I want to accomplish, person that I have sitting in the integrator, are they the best fit for this seat based on where I want to go? And it'll also tell you who you need based on where you're trying to get to. So those are our two main outcomes that you'll get when you take this assessment.
Right. And like you're saying that like integrator is not a one size fits all concept.
Yeah,
And I think that's probably what you're pointing out there is the biggest myth that this AIV is coming to answer for people. Like it's not a one size
yeah,
fits all, right? Like you said, the business that's like getting in your garage is just barely a startup pre-revenue
oh,
to $100 million company. They don't need the same kind of integrator. And
yeah,
depending on, as you said, what's the level of complexity that or what's the type of complexity that is like your dominant challenge at this stage in your business growth is going to make a big difference of what kind of integrator you need to lead
yeah,
you to the next stage. I think
yeah,
that aspect of it tell like the AIV, the Alignment Index for Visionaries, is going to tell you, like you said, Joanne, which type of integrator I need based on which stage of business evolution I'm at.
yeah, yeah,
And so I want to just briefly share this screen here, which is that what are those different stages of business evolution that the AIV is going to tell the visionary, hey, you are here in this journey,
hmm
and which
hmm
type of integrator do they need? And I'm going to ask you to explain that for, depending on
sure,
which type of journey. So in
yeah,
terms of the business stage, if you look at the left side of the screen, right, we've
yep,
identified from, like Joanne said, over 350 companies that we've been collecting data on over the last 2 years, that is where this is coming from, right? This is based on
mm,
not just our clients or a little bit of anecdotal evidence, but based on, a very wide spectrum of entrepreneurial businesses. And so some businesses are at the bottom left stage on the screen, which is survival mode. That is where they are battling against catastrophe every day. There's a fire image because there's always fires to put out.
yeah,
And there is a complexity that is caused by chaos. And then
hmm
if a business can get beyond that to a level of stability, they can get beyond the chaos to a level we call owner dependent. That's another stage of business
Hmm.
evolution that means that, there's stability. There's that, you've gotten beyond largely that chaos, but it's very owner dependent. Their owners
Yep.
pulling all the levers. If they would step away for 2 or 3 weeks incommunicado, everything would fall apart. Things would stop moving, no new business would be gotten, things would be messed up, and there'd be a tremendous mess to clean up when they got back because it's
Yep.
very owner dependent. The next stage after that is when is what we call incremental growth, where you can have other people driving execution of the business besides just the owner, a lot more
Yep.
freedom there, a lot more scalability there. And then the fourth stage of business evolution we call scale. That's larger enterprises or very fast scaling businesses going from,
Yep.
5 to 10 to 15 locations, executing an acquisition strategy, perhaps, introducing and integrating new businesses that are being acquired, perhaps a go-to-market of a new product or service, perhaps an expansion from local to regional or regional to national.
Hmm.
And uh, so those are the four stages the business is at, and the AIV, the Alignment Index for Visionaries, is going to tell that visionary, hey, which stage are you at? And those visionaries who are taking this assessment are probably going to have kind of an aha moment. It's like, oh yeah,
Yep.
that description
Yep.
is what it feels like. I want to ask you,
Yep.
Joanne, while we have this image on the screen here, can you
Yep.
walk me through what have we found to be the three qualitatively different types of integrators that each one solves a
Yep.
different kind of complexity depending on that business stage evolution?
Or yeah, so we discovered, we started out as a executive firm. That's kind of what we did, and we, would talk to prospective clients and just learn about the different kinds of problems that they were having, but it really wasn't a right fit for us. So we started to refer those out, and we saw that pattern enough where we said, wait a minute, like there really are different stages here, different goals, and they need a different integrator to actually match that based on their experience and expertise. And so the very first that we identified, actually, it was in backwards order, but I'll start with the operational integrator, is that exactly as you said, it's survival. It feels like an adrenaline rush every single day when you're done, and it is highly symptomatic of reactivity. There's not a lot of structure in place. The processes aren't yet documented and nowhere near followed by all. It's just sort of, we all pitch in to get to what we can get to in the by the end of the day, and that causes unintended consequences to spin out. And so we're always putting out those fires on a very consistent basis. People don't know their lanes sometimes. We don't have clarity in roles. We're all just doing the best we can. And so that is really a great fit for somebody who has an operational um, integrator skill set, because they are able to put those parts and pieces in place that will kind of quell those fires down. We'll start to see, the symptoms change from that reactivity to more proactivity because of the systems that they put in place. And once you get to that stage, depending, of course, where you want to go, you may be ready for what we call a conductor integrator. And I always like to say simplistically, a conductor has a foot in strategy and a foot in tactics. That's about as quick and as I can say it. But this is, where we know the owner is involved. And there is no shame in this statement whatsoever. If you started it, you know that business better than anybody else. And you've held every role in the company, likely, especially in the very beginning, right? And it is very hard to be able to let go and start handing pieces off. You probably have to wear multiple hats for a really long time. So it just kind of gets ingrained in the way you do things. And like you said, if you left, you just feel like this onerous responsibility when you go home that you cannot pull out. If you pull out, everything's going to fall apart. So the conductor comes in, they sit right alongside you. They are helping to delegate many of the tasks that you are taking ownership as the visionary for, and giving them to the right people in the right seat who can do a brilliant job at that and let you really focus on things that are really much more important to the growth of the business. Um, a conductor integrator can also help where the goal is in incremental growth. There's not a lot of kind of BHAGs, maybe And those are great businesses too. In fact, those are wonderful businesses. Then that the owner can take vacations in that stage because we've set up a system that is going to be repeatable and is going to produce consistent results. And that is a perfectly wonderful goal for companies. And it's a great, lifestyle kind of company. And those are also highly, valuable on the resale market, should that ever be something you're interested in, because we've now taken that owner dependency because you can't sell yourself to the new new entity. So anyway, and then some are not satisfied with incremental growth and they really want to go big. They want to, they want to shoot for the moon. And or maybe they are getting trying to work toward an enterprise value increase to take it toward a sale or a merger, or maybe they want to start growing really fast. And we would be, your executive integrator has probably, run companies of, well, not probably, has run companies of material size, and probably in almost every case, has taken it to a higher level than maybe that founder has gone before. And so we are able to take them to that next level, introduce them to many concepts that is required for the level of scale that they're looking for, and help them achieve that. And that is done primarily by letting the executive integrator running the day to day with the right people, right seats, with all those great systems and processes that have been put in place, and letting the founder and the owner go out there and shine and work on those big things. Okay, so Ben, just a quick gut check here. How do you know when you have the right integrator or number two leader?
So that's a great question. I think one of the biggest symptoms that an owner or visionary is going to feel when they don't have the right integrator is that they can't let go,
Hmm.
right?
Interesting. Yeah.
You've got to have the feeling that your integrator has the wheel of the business
Hmm. Hmm.
and that you can get out of the car, you can come back in later, but like you can get out of the car and you have confidence that things will move forward, both in business execution of the day-to-day of the business, meaning the actual product or service that you deliver to clients or customers, and also importantly, in execution of the business plan or the VTO. That's the projects and initiatives and rocks that are going to make tomorrow bigger or better than today. And if you don't have confidence that your integrator has like got the wheel and they could drive that stuff forward, lead and drive your leadership team, both in terms of leadership and in terms of accountability, then then there's an integrator challenge. Maybe
Yeah.
they're not a right person, right seat for the business at all. Maybe they were the right type of integrator for one stage of business, but not for the current stage or the next stage of business. That happens.
Yeah.
We've heard that from so many of the owners we've spoken to. Their integrator is great. Their integrator is wonderful. They wouldn't have gotten where they are without them. But now they're kind of in the way and they can't let go and it's not able to move forward and they start getting frustrated. But they also feel so much gratitude and so much conflict about how valuable that person was up until now. And I think one of the things that we hope with this AIV, with this alignment index for visionaries, with the three types of integrator, is to recognize that there's not just one type of integrator, like you said before, Joanne. There's three different types, and different types are needed for different stages. One's not better or worse than another. And so if your integrator was great for a previous stage, but not great for now, that doesn't mean they're not a great integrator. It just means that they are the right fit for a different stage of business than where you are
Yep.
now. That's nothing to be ashamed of.
Absolutely.
They're going to feel much more satisfaction. Everybody wants to be successful. Everybody wants to execute well.
Yeah.
And so if they can either move into a different role within the business that that they can go back to excelling in just like they did before, or go to a different business where
Hmm.
who needs the type of integrator that they are, then they will be much happier. They will feel much more productive. And you will be able to, get the right kind of integrator that's going to get you and your entire team, because it's not just you who's
Yeah.
suffering when you don't have the right type of integrator in your business for what you
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
So I would say that's the biggest framing. Another really important framing about knowing whether you have the right or wrong type of integrator is thinking about what we call the number one trap. Right? The number one trap is, as we define it, when a visionary or owner is stuck doing roles other than their superpowers, other than
Mm.
their own personal highest and
100%.
best
Yep.
use, other than their own personal unique ability, as strategic coach and Dan Sullivan calls it. So um, when they are in the number one trap, they're doing a bunch of stuff in the weeds because it's got to get done, because maybe they feel, or maybe it's true, that there's no one else who could get it done. And it's a very frustrating place to be. And not only is it frustrating and stressful, look, you're an entrepreneur. You could deal with stress and frustration all the time. You eat frustration and stress for breakfast. Like, that's no big deal. That's not even a motivation almost to change
Yeah.
anything, because you think
Yeah.
that's your birthright as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, just to be stressed. But it's actually costing you massive amounts of money in addition to that stress. By
Yes.
you not spending, let's say, an extra 20 hours a week, week after week, month after month, quarter after quarter in sales, well, over the next coming couple of years, that's costing you millions of dollars of you not being in that highest and best use role.
Yeah.
If you're not focused on innovation, let's say, and then in a year or two, you could get pushed out of business or have a massive shrinkage in your business because you didn't spend the last couple of years working on some innovation that was going to get ahead of market forces that are about to take your entire business out from under you, or a competitor that's about
Hmm.
to take
That's
the entire
exactly right.
business out from under
Yep.
you. There's
Yep.
so many examples like that. But a great and the right number two leader, the right integrator, if you have the right type for the stage that you're at, what that does is they are able to run the business, both day-to-day execution and driving the business
Right.
plan, so that you can be in your number one mode, in your highest and best use mode, in your unique ability. And getting
Yeah.
you and releasing you from that number one trap is the biggest thing that it will feel like when you finally have, if you don't already, the right integrator in your business.
Absolutely.
Joanne, why did we stop calling the AIV, the Alignment Index for Visionaries, MOA, which it used to be called? Why did we change the name?
Well, it's a funny story, actually, Ben. I have to give credit to the innovator of this concept for us was our former CRO and still a current partner at Wolf's Edge. Came up with this idea, as we were kind of brainstorming what we were seeing, and he started kind of kicked off the first version with all of our feedback and what you and I had seen, and then we always take everything to the team, right, to get our brain trust in there too. So we took all that data and he put it into this index, which he called the MOA, and the MOA stood for the mother of all assessments. And we thought it was quite clever and quite funny. However, it maybe wasn't communicating what its actual purpose was and use was for somebody who might take it. So, we decided to change the name at a certain point in time, actually, because of the data that we were getting. And we recognized the value that it was having. And we really wanted to align kind of our new understanding because Wolf's Edge approach is always highly iterative, meaning, we'll go to market and we're going to collect data, and then we adjust, and then we collect data, and we adjust. And so through that learning, we realized one, visionaries don't necessarily want to spend, a long period of time. So we're able to shorten it by everything that we learn. And we changed the name to be something more, maybe intuitive. So we settled on the alignment index for visionaries, and that is just letting you know, like, are you aligned with the integrator that you have, and take the assessment, and you'll find out. So that's how we got to that name.
Yeah, Joanne, another question related to that is
Yeah,
that, you mentioned that the Alignment Index for Visionaries, the AIV, formerly known as MOA, used to be a lot longer. Now it's a lot
yeah,
shorter. What's the
yep.
difference? What's the difference, and what is the experience of taking it like for the visionary?
So, you know, in true integrator form, you of course are a visionary, but you're also a former integrator. We are high fact finders. We want to know every last detail about everything and think that that's necessary. But we also knew eventually that that wasn't super realistic, and it wasn't even that much more predictive. We were able to really pare down the questions to attached to the most important things. And that is, where are they and where do they want to go? And what type of integrator is best match for that. So we were able to really simplify it. So it's a very quick now assessment. It'll give you results. Um, I think we hit the mark, remarkably accurately, but there are times we don't, meaning that sometimes it's a point of conversation. So, it's like if sometimes we're on the bubble, for example, right? Or sometimes, goals might be a little disparate. So, but with quite a bit of accuracy, we're able to tell you based on what you tell us. So as long as you're telling us everything that's going on in your business and you're really clear, you can do that in a really short amount of time and be able to get to this answer. In fact, I think, I can't remember, but this one is probably, I don't know, a fifth of the time that it used to be. It's pretty amazing. So, and it really is something that is going to give you an amazing amount of clarity that was something that you maybe didn't even have like a point of reference for before. So it's kind of mind blowing if you weren't kind of oriented to this concept or idea.
Yeah, I would just add one thing to that, which is
Yeah.
that like how did we, you said that we ask the visionary just needs to answer and they can just do it with clicking. There's no like
Oh,
detailed
oh,
like text
yep. That's
responses.
right.
And what it's asking them is to identify the top three or up to three issues or challenges that they're having right now, and the top 1 to 3 goals or desires that they have right now. What's most important? And it asks you to rank each one, like, is this a 2? Is this a 5? Is this a 10 in terms of either severity or importance?
Hmm.
And how did we get that list of goals, and how did we get that list of issues or challenges? And we got that by again looking at data. We looked at we looked at the transcripts of our of 6 months of discovery calls, like talking to actual business owners, 68 calls with business owners, and looking at the data is what were the common denominators? What were the common denominators of the issues that they brought up, the challenges that they brought up, and the goals and desires that they had? So it's like
Yep.
actually taking not projection, but what the actual challenges are, what the actual desires, goals, and dreams are of these business owners, and use that as the basis to categorize things. So I think it's important. Just another way that we wanted to use data to try to make sure that we were coming up with what's really important to business owners and visionaries when it comes
Hmm.
to how is that going to be predictive of which type of integrator they have or which type of integrator they need.
Yep. So Ben, Um, how are the answers to the questions that the visionary is taking in this assessment used to be able to come up with the answer to those two very important questions? Do I have the right integrator, and what type do I actually need for my goals?
Right, absolutely. So we take uh, we have sort of calibrations, like just to give you a little insight into the back end of what's the mechanics of how this assessment is working.
Yep.
And we look at the 12 top issues that are challenges that the business owner might be facing. And when they answer the alignment index for visionaries, and each one is calibrated to see kind of, hey, what stage of business evolution is this indicative of if I'm having this particular type of challenge? And which type of the 3 types of integrator are needed to get me out of this particular type of challenge. And so there's going to be votes, so to speak, different levels for the type of business stage where you're at, a business evolution, and for the type of integrator that you likely need if you are in that stage of business evolution. And then on the other side, looking at your goals and dreams and desires of what you want to achieve for your business or your life, looking there, it's also each answer, each particular is going to give different votes or different levels of points. It's indicating towards which type of integrator you need that's going to help you achieve those goals
Yep.
and which stage of business evolution that desire means that you likely want to get to. So that way we
Yep.
can get clarity on, hey, which of those 4 stages of business evolution do you want to get to based on your goals? Which of those 4 stages of business evolution are you currently at based on what current challenges and problems that you're having? And based on both of them, which type of integrator of those three is going to be the right fit for unraveling that particular type of complexity. And so
Yeah.
there's a lot of complicated math at the back end, but what it ultimately comes down to is it takes a very, very nuanced look at what your issues are and your challenges are, what your goals and desires are, mixes it all together, weighs it out in a very nuanced way to give you probably within 85 to 95% likelihood a chance of which type of integrator you need. And
Yeah.
even for those who want to work with Wolf's Edge integrators, if you want to explore with us, getting the right type of integrator, if you might need a new integrator, then we actually ask everybody coming to meet with us, even before they meet with us, take this assessment. It's going to give a
Yeah.
lot of insight even before you meet with us on
Yeah.
a lot of self-knowledge about where you are, where you want to go, and give us a little bit of background context so we can really get straight to the meat of it and spend less
Hmm.
time on basics.
And you may even find out that you do have the right integrator for what your goals and business stage is. So that's a very important piece of information as well. You're on the right track, keep going, I would say. So that's
Yeah.
also a great use.
And who is the alignment index for visionaries, the AIV? Who is that for?
It is for visionaries and founders. So it's the leader of the organization. Yeah.
Now, what about now let's say I'm an integrator
Mhm.
and I'm in a business and I want to know which type of integrator I am. What should I do?
Luckily, Ben, there's a compliment to our AIV. We have what we call the ITI, and that is the integrator uh, height index, and that will help you. It's on our website. You can go as an integrator and take that, and it will tell you. I really like the way you said that, superpowers, because that's really what it's about. There are people that are amazing at doing those foundational pieces, putting those all back together and getting processes and getting everybody rolling on that. And so there is a superpower in every single type. So if you take this assessment, also very straightforward, and you'll get an answer on kind of where you land there, and that will help you kind of pair yourself in the right spot for the right company who has taken the AIV, and you would be able to kind of work with those clients that would get the most value out of your superpowers. So Ben, for all of our EOSI friends out there, our implementers that are working with these clients, what's the best way for them to use these tools?
So for EOS implementers, the best thing that they could do is, well, first of all, if they want to get an insight into what type of integrator their client needs, they could actually take the AIV and just answer as they, because they know a lot about the
As if
businesses
they're
that
them.
they
Yeah,
work
good
with.
idea.
So they could take
Yeah.
the IV, the implementer could take the AIV themselves, answer as they believe the visionary would answer, and then see what the results are. That's going to give you a lot of insight. A second way EOS implementers can use the assessment is send it to your visionary clients so that that visionary
Hmm.
client can get some aha moments. They can realize, oh, that's why things are not working, or that's why, because, even like, let's say the integrator, let's say the visionary, excuse me, is both visionary and integrator. It's like, oh, I'm not
Sometimes,
really
yeah.
good at that kind of thing. So I'm really kind of bad at being integrator for the stage that I'm at now. Like maybe that gives them an additional aha moment why they need a separate person who's integrator who's not them,
Yeah.
whatever it happens to be. And the third thing that they could do is reach out to us, reach out to Wolf's Edge Integrators. We will send you a link to a dashboard specifically for you as an EOS implementer where you can send the AIV link out to your visionaries. You could send the ITI link to your integrators. So it'll tell your visionaries what kind of integrator they need when they take that assessment. It'll tell your integrators, what type of integrator they are based on that assessment, and you'll have access to
Mhm.
all those results like in all in one place. You'll have a lot more insights, in between those quarterly and annual planning sessions or focus day and VB1, VB2. You'll have a lot of insight and context going into those things. If your clients are taking those assessments, if you could review their results in advance. So that's one more
Mhm.
way that you can give value to your clients, give clarity and aha moments to your clients. And if your clients, if even a portion of your clients can get the right type of integrator for where they are, they're going to be a much better EOS client. They're going to stay with you much
Mhm.
longer because their business is going to be more successful. They're going to stay with
Right.
you longer because their EOS implementation is going to be more successful because they've got the right people on their team. I'm sure you've all
Yeah.
seen where you have ineffective integrators in your clients and how it's like you're like fighting an uphill battle, talking about the same things quarter after quarter. And until they get the
Yeah.
right integrator in place, it's almost like you're on a hamster wheel with some of these clients. And so
Yeah.
if you could give them some aha moments, give them some clarity about what type of integrator they really need for where they really are, if they're serious about wanting to achieve their goals, then those are going to be much more successful EOS clients for you as well. And so we really hope that these tools, this AIV for the visionaries, that the ITI for the integrators, will help you, give you more insights into your clients, and help your clients be more successful. Which of course they're going to attribute to you because you're their EOS implementer.
And they deserve it, I would say too. Do you think there's a use case for doing this even before they're officially your client? You think there is a benefit for them, when they're starting to talk to people and, just introducing them to EOS maybe for the first time, or maybe they know about it. Do you think, this lends some credence to the expertise and, you know, that role, that very important role, or at least let them know kind of what they're walking into with somebody?
I think so, because if you look at all the coaching books, right, that tell you how to be a great coach, like
Yeah.
Getting Naked by Patrick Lencioni and some of the other great books out there, they tell you to coach your clients as the
Yes,
salesman, right?
exactly.
Give your
Yeah.
clients
Yeah.
value, or your potential clients, give them value, show them what it's like. So instead of deciding, do I want to take this person on as a EOS implementer or as a coach, they're going to decide, oh gosh, do I want to start giving up on this great value I've already started to get from this person? And rather than
Yeah.
that, they don't want to lose that, so they want to stay with you, right, after the 90-minute
Yeah.
meeting and continue with you as a client. And one more way that you can give them value, give them insights, give them aha moments, like, oh my gosh, I'm figuring out all these things, I'm having all these realizations working with this EOS implementer, or even beginning to talk with this EOS implementer that I didn't have before. And
Right.
if you're sharing this great assessment, this AIV that tells them, hey, what stage of business evolution are you at? Oh my gosh, I really am. What type of integrator number two is going to get me to the next stage? Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. I didn't even know. I barely knew there was such a thing as a number two or an integrator, much less that there was
Right.
more than one type. Thank you. It's like so much. Thank you. It's going to be such an aha moment. So I would say,
Yeah.
because of that, you're going to be giving aha moments. You're going to be showing value to your clients even before they get going with you. It'll give you more context about them. So as you start working with them,
Yeah.
you can look at that data, especially we use that dashboard for EOS implementers, for coaches, to see
Yeah.
the answers that your clients are giving, to see the analysis that your client is getting. That's gonna help inure you to your clients so much more faster.
And one thing I think I've heard almost every time when I start an engagement and I'm working with an implementer is, do you know how long I've been trying to get them to get an integrator on board? And so it really is, I think it helps lend credence to that importance, and kind of underscores why they might be struggling in a certain way. And so, everybody has to make the right investments in their business. And so I think that helps maybe sell them on that fact because we know that they're much more successful when there's that great duo happening.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we want to conclude with a reminder that for any visionary who wants to know what stage of business evolution are you at, what type of integrator of those three types of integrator that you need, because it's not one size fits all. Take the alignment
Hmm.
index for visionaries, the AIV. You can get that at wolfsedgeintegrators.com. There's an assessments tab. There's alignment index for visionaries, one of the options there. And if you're an integrator, you want to know what type of integrator you are so that you can apply your superpowers in a way that's most needed and most valued, that's going to get a business to the next stage where it needs to get to, take the ITI, take the integrator type index, and that's also available at wolfsedgeintegrators.com under the assessments tab.